Welcome to Iron Summit, where we cover topics about health, fitness, and general performance through the eyes of former elite Division I wrestlers.
We're live.
We're live. We're
All
live,
right.
everyone. Ryan's wearing a tank top, so you know we're serious today.
Why do we got to call that out, Max? That's
I mean, it's
crazy.
just it's the elephant in the room.
That's crazy. Okay. I got two things. One, first of all, Max, how's the pec feeling? That's number one.
It's good. Coming along. I mean, good. Relatively good. I got my first actual workout in today,
Nice.
which felt awesome. I did legs and got some bike sprints in, and I can tell that was my first time really getting my heart rate up since the surgery. I thought I was gonna pass out, but
You needed that
but
right at
no.
elevation too.
Yep. I was like, whoa, I'm not. I feel 10 days of not doing much, but I'm gonna get back in the saddle with all that stuff. So do
That's
what I
good.
can do, but it's doing well. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, dude, that's funny. That reminds me of you remember going home for like Christmas or Thanksgiving for like 2 or 3 days during
Yep.
college, and uh, didn't matter how much you trained when you're at home. It's like it's just not the same as like in a college room and going through a full, 2 hour long practice. And you just know the first practice back is gonna be absolutely awful. You're gonna have a headache
Yeah.
after, like you feel like crap, and then you're fine the next day. I feel like you're in that mode where it's like you just need one hard blow like that. It's gonna
Yeah.
suck. You lean into it, then you're good to go.
Yeah. I'll be good now. It'll get better and better. I think also it's like the first time really getting my heart rate up since general anesthesia,
Yeah.
sort of drugs, all that kind of stuff. So you just feel extra kind of shitty for that first workout, but we'll be good going forward.
Absolutely. It's funny, man. It's funny you can do that. Like, I don't know, you can work out all the time and then like a day or two of travel. Like obviously yours makes a lot of sense with like how many things you
Yeah.
stacked on top of it. But like your body quickly, you'll have a crappy workout once or twice back and then you feel good again. But
Yep.
you hear a lot of people that travel a lot. They're like the best way to reset is the second you get there, get a hard workout in, and then
Yep.
you're kind of good to go.
So true. Just working out's good for you. Turns out.
Who'd have thought, man?
Who would have
Second
thought?
thing I wanted to see, did you see these MIT courses that came out recently?
What is it?
Dude, MIT just posts like all these free courses. You can get all these like certificates and stuff online. I don't know, it just made me think like how crazy the world we live in. Like anything you want to learn, like you can 100% just find it on YouTube, on Google, like just look into it and you can get good at doing something. I mean, I just think there's like zero excuse to not do what you want to do now. And I think it's such a cool time that we're in. There's so much knowledge out there and you got to weed through some stuff. Um, but yeah, I
Yep.
thought I saw quite a few like threads on this new MIT courses and stuff. I'm like, dude, that's sweet. If
I
you want
gotta
to learn to
check that
code,
out.
like, yeah, level up.
Yeah. That is interesting. I think it's this is not the topic of today's podcast, but we live in a world where lack of information is no longer the problem. It's uh overstimulation and quality of information. It's a
Yeah,
problem, which maybe that's a good way to segue into our topic for today because there's a lot of information on this topic, but it's favorite exercises for each body part. And we can break it down. I think what
yeah.
we'll do is we'll start with chest. Um, and I'll say my favorite, you say your favorite, and then next one you go first. We'll just go back and forth.
Okay.
All right. So for chest, I think, and the way I want to do it is there's two, like favorite in terms of favorite to do, and then
Mm,
favorite in terms of actually what you think the best exercise for that muscle group is overall. Because yeah, obviously there's uh different goals require different exercises. So we'll just say overall for both. So for
yeah. Okay.
chest roll, I think my favorite to do is the barbell bench press, although maybe not anymore because she did me dirty.
Yeah.
um, so barbell, I'm pissed at barbell bench right now, but I still that's my favorite to do. It's just fun to load some weight on the bar and press it. But it is by no means the best. I think I'm a great example of that right now. I think the best overall chest exercise is, I'm gonna say, a flat dumbbell bench press.
Dude, I hate that you said exactly what I was thinking because I'm thinking, the first thing, I don't know about you. I think we've talked about this a little bit before. But like the first thing you learn, like when you're with your buddies, you see a weight room, you go in there, flat bench press is like the biggest ego lift. Everybody's like, that's the first lift you're going to do probably
Yeah.
as a like young male. I don't know if females have the same
No, I
experience,
think
but it's
that's a bro thing.
it's a bro thing. But yeah, I think like you said, like a flat dumbbell bench, you can squeeze a lot more. You get a lot more range of motion.
Yeah.
And I think the reason I wouldn't pick something like, a chest isolated movement like flies or something like that is I think that the amount of weight you can put on with a bench press, dumbbell or flat bench, you're just not going to find another exercise that you can load the muscles that much. And yeah, you're building other muscles as well. You got some front delt, you got your triceps, a little bit of
Yep.
lats in there. Like you said, your biceps kind of stabilizing. But yeah, I think for bench press, probably a flat bench, dumbbell bench
Yep.
is probably the best exercise for your chest. And that being
What's your
said, that's
favorite to do? Also barbell bench?
barbell. It's got to be, man.
Yeah.
That's my favorite for sure.
Yeah. No, I think, and you hit all the reasons why dumbbell bench is really good. You can get a lot more range of motion. That's a very common mistake. We've talked about that a lot. We had a whole podcast on how to grow your chest and why dumbbell bench is great. But I think, yeah, you can get full range of motion. You can really feel the contraction. Your hands aren't in a fixed position like they are with a barbell, which means it just can fit more people's bodies than a barbell bench. And then I would say, like, I almost went with an incline
Mm.
dumbbell bench because you can actually get a little better range of motion. And I think a lot of people do lack upper chest development. I think it's like, in some ways, I think being on a slight incline, you can actually target your chest a little better. Being flat is, you have or a lot of people have more of a propensity to use their tricep and delts. But I just think it's kind of like the classic overall. And if you're doing it correctly, you're getting a ton of chest. So we're on the same page on this one. And by the way, Ryan and I have not discussed any of this at all.
Yeah, this is
we talked about chest before, but all these other will be interesting because we've never synced up on any of these.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, I'm with you. It's funny too, like I say that, but I think it's a good reminder for me too, just personally. I always got to remind myself every couple months, like if there's something I like don't want to do as much, it's probably gonna be better for me as well. And I'm just such a bigger component or like proponent of doing dumbbell incline bench and flat
Yep.
barbell bench. And I need to switch that sometimes because I definitely overdo the barbell with flat bench, and I know it's
Yep.
not as good. But I still do it probably a lot more than, a flat dumbbell bench.
Yeah. I mean, and like there's so many nuances to this. Sometimes like barbell benching can really fit your biomechanics, and then it's really great. It just depends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good point. Do what is uncomfortable, and you should do more flat dumbbell benching. It sounds like
Yeah. I
an
think that's
incline.
also, hey, 100%. And I think that's a model for life too. If you lean into the hard stuff
Yep.
that you don't want to do, it's where you grow. Um, Moving on. Are we going to break this down like muscle group? Because I'm thinking
Yeah.
like, okay,
Let's do back now. We'll just
okay.
go back.
Back, I gotta say pull-ups, man. And I'd say weighted pull-ups kind of goes in there too.
Is that your favorite to do or best overall?
Both, man. My dad got me like a pull-up bar when I was like,
Both.
I was probably 10. And I did pull-ups. This was probably dumb, man. I probably got like arthritis in my elbow or something, but I did pull-ups every single day for like, or when I say every single day, I'd say every single day I was home, like I was on vacation. Maybe I didn't get it, but just about every single day for probably, I don't know, 12 years, from when I was
Yeah.
10. I do it in college every day except the day before competition and day of competition. And I just stopped maybe 2 years ago because the place I was living at didn't have like a door that I could hang a pull up bar in.
Yeah.
And so I just still do pull ups, 3 times a week, but not every day. I just feel like just for overall back, you get everything you need out of it. You can weight it. You can do slow pull ups. You get a lot of range of motion, like we were talking about. You go front, I guess pull ups forward or chin ups. You go neutral
Yep.
grip. Yeah, I'd say that's both my favorite and I think biggest bang for your buck. What about you?
Yep. I think I agree with you on probably best overall back exercise being pull-ups. I always think you should probably be able to do pull-ups before you do pull downs. Um, that being said, I don't know if they're my favorite to do, especially once I made the move to heavyweight. I think I'm like pretty good at pull-ups for a heavyweight, but it's not my favorite anymore. And I've always just really enjoyed like one arm dumbbell rows.
Okay.
And I think they're probably a close second to pull-ups because if you do them correctly, you're not just swinging the weight around, you can actually get really good contraction. It's unilateral. It's similar to dumbbell bench. Like you can kind of anytime you do a movement with dumbbells, you can really uh, adjust it to what fits your body. There's so many variations of dumbbell rows that um, I think there's probably a close second to pull-ups for me. I think pull-ups are the king of back development. It's just any of the, and that's probably a theme we'll notice, like any of the compound movement where you're getting a more than just one muscle group, or probably like if you had to pick one exercise for each, they're going to be the best. But that's why accessories exist, and you don't just go in and do one exercise.
You
That's right.
Sometimes you do. You ever done that where you just
Yeah.
walk in and you do just like a 10 by 10 and you just can't walk the next day?
Yeah. Oh, well, on squat, yeah. But you probably squatted like the big compound movement, trained the
Right,
whole bunch.
right. German
We're getting
volume
ahead of
training.
ourselves. Yeah, getting ahead of ourselves. But yeah, I think pull ups with dumbbell rows being a close second. Dumbbell are probably my favorite. I feel them really well in my back, and then I can branch off of that and say like any kind of single arm row, cable, dumbbell, because you can like I like a lot of single arm cable pulling because you can change the angles and hit different divisions of the lat really well. Um, you could do kind of like a low row all the way to high to low. So anything there, they're pretty similar, dumbbell rows and cable rows, but I think those are really good too.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think there's so many different variations in back, but it's all like very similar exercises um, with different variations. And like you said, I think rows are probably, I think you can make an
Right.
argument too, depending on body weight, like you said earlier, like you're going to be better at pull ups if you're lighter and you have a strong back, right? So, but it also, I think the good part about that too is it kind of scales with your body. Like if you're heavier, it's going to be harder to do pull ups until you get stronger. Um, but also like a row, you could scale a little bit easier as well, or you could assist your pull
Yep.
ups too, I guess. Um,
Yeah, you can assist them with bands. I don't love assisting pull-ups with bands because they take the most tension off the pull-up when you're getting the most out of the pull-up, which is in that
yeah,
like bottom stretch part. Um, so and that's another key point with pull-ups is like you got to do full range of motion if you're doing them.
yeah,
Like a lot of
absolutely.
people hop up there and they just bang out like the top half, which is actually not a ton of back. It's a lot more like biceps and upper back.
Yeah, pull ups do have a lot more biceps than people think. You get a lot of core in
So
there
much.
too. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
They're
no,
a great
100%.
bicep exercise,
Yeah,
honestly. It's one of the
honorable
reasons they're
mention for the
yeah,
bicep.
yeah, underrated. That's why you gotta get that full hang, really get your lats in there.
Dude, that's why I mean
Alright.
you see gymnasts. Sorry, one more thing.
Yeah,
You see
yeah,
gymnasts like they're always extended all the way and like the long. We talk about like long head of your bicep.
yeah,
Like I just you've never seen a gymnast that doesn't have jacked biceps, but they're always hanging like full range of motion. There's a lot of tension on there, and obviously
yeah.
puts a lot of muscle on.
They got big backs and big buys.
Yeah,
They're hanging. Yep. Alright, what should we do next? Shoulders?
shoulders. All right, you're up
Shoulders.
first.
Oh, I go first here. I haven't thought of shoulders. Favorite overall exercise to do versus best. Well, shoulders is hard because there's like there's three divisions of the shoulder. Probably technically should pick one for each, but we're doing overall and we don't have would be here a while if we did that. So I'll say my favorite overall shoulder is like a very high incline dumbbell press.
Okay.
Not I think I think that's probably the best overall for development. I don't like completely vertical as much.
Hmm.
I think it's still great, but yeah, I think you can get a lot more out of a really high incline. That's actually a ton of shoulder and a lot less chest. And it's actually I like it better on the shoulder joint when you bring it a little bit more like 45 on a high incline rather than kind of like 90 degrees on a straight up vertical. That's what I think the best one is. My favorite one to do is probably a dumbbell lateral raise.
Okay. Yeah.
And those are also really good for your medial delt. But if you had to pick just one, because you're getting a good amount of medial delt and any kind of like really high incline pressing as well. But I love just the pump of a good medial raise.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. That's funny. I feel like at this one I'm gonna be way different than you, but probably my favorite is doing like a half kneeling landmine press. I don't know
Oh, those
why
are
I
good.
like that. But I've always felt like that's like you got a lot of stability in there, a lot of core, and it just I don't know. I've always felt like that was
Yeah.
you got to really use your shoulders. And
Well,
then
it's on the landmine, which is one, it's actually like from a shoulder perspective, that's very similar to like a high incline, just in the pressing pattern.
yeah, that's a good point.
Like really similar to a high incline, but you're also like throwing in some core with it.
Yeah,
So we'll count that as similar.
we'll count that. I think my favorite is a standing military press. I just always feel like if I'm seated, I think that I don't know, man. I think it's too easy to like start sliding your butt down and making it more of an incline bench. And like I just always feel like it's easier to be real strict and go straight shoulders, standing, put it overhead. Plus, you can do a lot more weight, I feel like, which I always think like it's kind of a catch 22, but being able to load up more weight, I feel like there's a lot more development there than doing
Yeah.
like small movements. That being said, like with the incline stuff you're talking about, I probably like an incline, high incline bench slash military press. But I just feel like I get a lot more shoulders going straight over top.
Yeah. That's interesting. I think because and both of yours are a lot of core too, which is a good thing. But
Yeah.
I think if I was to be a contrarian to you, if I'm picking just
Yeah.
for shoulders, I'm gonna go with a something seated where I can stabilize my core.
Yeah.
But if I'm gonna like be an athlete and just be a strong human overall, then I think your movements, because they're just a little more core, a little more stabilization required.
Yeah. I think that makes sense too. Is like, I mean, and you grew up too, like doing, obviously athletic stuff. So I probably was just naturally doing a lot of these stuff more from,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't like bodybuilding gym stuff. But it is a good point. I think you can stabilize yourself more. I just don't like starting to slide a butt away when you're driving against it. Um,
Yeah.
but
Gotta
I
be
think there's a lot,
strict.
a hundred
But then
percent.
on a military press, you can like get real. You see people start push pressing,
A
and
hundred
a
percent.
lot of jump into it, which is
Yeah.
not a bad. That's a great exercise, but you're gonna get a lot less shoulder. That's like more general,
Yeah.
explosive kind of using leg drive. Not a bad thing. Great for
Yeah.
athletes,
Yeah.
but you're not gonna
No,
get as much shoulder.
absolutely. I think you got to, again, like we said, depending on what you're training for, but just shoulder, making sure you're real strict about the knee bend there and really bouncing it
Yeah.
from the bottom.
If you can, I also think just like what one thing that's cool about a military press, like a strict press, is it's just like a great test of general strength.
Yeah.
Like if you can military press a bunch of weight, someone is strong because they got
Yeah.
a strong core, they got a strong upper body. If you can just move weight in that exercise. So I like it from that perspective. I think it's one of the, if you had to like say like best exercises to test someone's strength, that's probably like one of the top five.
It's also such a big muscle. Like we always talk about like, big back, big legs. Um, big chest, but your shoulder is such a large muscle group. It's such an important group to train that I think not a lot of people spend a whole lot of time on their shoulders. It's usually like you do some incline bench, and that's kind of your shoulders slash chest. I think it's super important to like spend some real time. And like you said, you got to spend time on all three heads of your shoulder instead of just always
Yeah,
going straight
we're
overhead.
totally neglecting rear delts here, which you don't train
Yeah.
at all in any of these things, but you get a lot of in pull-ups and back movements. So
Yeah, it was your
we're
rows.
kind of
Your
covering
rows
it
were getting
there.
it.
Yeah, for sure. No, and for physique, shoulders are one of the most underrated muscle groups. Like if you
100%.
have big round shoulders, you're gonna look good.
100%.
So, all right, on to the most important muscle group, biceps.
All right. Are you up first or me?
You're up.
I'm up. Okay, so it is funny we were talking about honorable mention with pull-ups, but I think honestly with the bicep, it's got to be a curl. I think probably one of the hardest things ever, one of the most humbling like curls is literally just like an incline curl where
Oh
where
yeah.
you have to like fully extend it. I've never been so sore after doing those where you're like it's hard to extend your arms after. Um, I think that's probably the best. I just like for my favorite is just standing alternating dumbbell curls.
Yep. I think I'm gonna go with my favorite and the best is standing alternating dumbbell curls
Okay.
or just together dumbbell curls. I don't know if it makes a lot of difference. Um, but both are just like it's hard to beat. You can load it really well. You can get full range of motion. Dumbbells are awesome for biceps because you can like really turn them,
Yeah.
which is where you get a lot of that bicep activation. I will say though, like honorable mention, maybe the best overall for bicep are like an incline dumbbell curl. Another way I really like setting those up is I'll like lean on a preacher curl pad or a
Mm,
like you put a bar in like a Smith machine rack and put your arms again. It's the same thing. Kind of lean back and emulate an incline curl because you get that big stretch.
dude.
Anytime you're looking to like grow something, like that stretch is it, right? That's the juice. So I think the incline curl or like a supported curl are really good.
No, 100%. And I think, dude, biceps are something that I'm like afraid to tear something on kind of. And it's probably a little bit irrational, but I feel like it's so easy to get so much tension on your bicep. Um,
Right.
and you can like just really horse that weight and you get, I don't know. There's definitely been times where I'm like, I'm a little nervous here. And you
Yeah.
just always hear about guys, a lot of bodybuilders like end up tearing their bicep or like, a
Yeah. It's
quarterback
an easy
throwing a
one.
lot. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
a weak insertion and I feel like you can put a lot of pressure on it and they get strong, but then they tear
Yep.
too.
Biceps and pecs. Those are the easy
God,
ones to rip because
the best.
you can put so much. Yeah, the two best. Why do they tempt you like that? Not fair. But you can put a lot. It's like you said, you can put just a lot of direct pressure
Yeah.
on those insertions. So yeah, definitely be careful. I think another really underrated exercise, and it's not really biceps, but it's a great arm exercise. So I'll just mention it here is hammer curl
Yeah.
because you're getting some bicep, but you're getting a lot like all those uh the brachialis, like these are important muscles for especially for like grip strength
Yeah.
and rest like kind of athletic strength, huge in wrestling, but also for having arms that look big and good. They're really underrated.
Dude,
So
it's a
throw
great
a
point.
hammer curl in there.
Forearms, like bicep curls, such a great forearm developer. And especially if you're doing like hypertrophy biceps, like if you're hitting a lot of reps, um, juicing up your forearms, which might be one of the most like functional in air quotes for like
Yeah.
day-to-day stuff is having a strong grip. Like how many times, maybe I'm a little biased right now. I've been moving, a lot of boxes and stuff, like you're always carrying something or
No,
carrying
grip strength,
groceries and stuff.
like
So
real life strength.
it's like real
Yep,
man strength.
it is. Well, and wrestling specific, like your first point of contact with someone and like feeling their strength is their grip. If you
100%.
can have a really strong grip, you can feel way stronger than you actually are.
Yeah.
So it's like in wrestling, it's a hugely important grip
Yeah.
strength.
No,
Yep.
absolutely. Unfortunately, too, it's also big hands usually lead to a good grip. So if you don't have big hands, you better be training your grip a lot.
That unfortunate because you have small hands.
Dude, I
You
don't know
try.
that I have small hands, but they're not like big. You know, you shake somebody's hands, they got bear paws, and you're like, yeah, that guy's got a strong grip.
Yeah. You insecure about this, Ryan?
I wasn't,
We
but
just
now
we learned
maybe.
we learned something new. Ryan has insecurity about his small
Hey,
hands.
let's get a little gripper thing, and I promise my grip's just fine. All right.
Have you tested it before on a
Um.
dynamometer?
So the only time I remember doing this, which is funny because this was a couple years ago, and now I think it's kind of coming back, is I was at a training camp, a national team camp at the OTC, and every day they were having us do grips
Yep.
for
Yeah, to
like
test
your
like your
readiness.
CNS. Yeah.
Yeah. But I have no idea what that compared to somebody else. I don't even remember what the numbers were, but they were just comparing your numbers day to day. And
To
like you
your
said, like,
numbers.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a nervous system readiness thing. I
right.
have heard of that. That's
They
interesting.
also they also had like it was like you press on a phone. It was an app, like dots to test your reaction time and stuff.
Yep.
I kind of get that stuff. I also kind of think it's frou-frou, and it's like I usually know my body when it's ready or not. And also
Right.
like if you're at a training camp, you're probably not gonna just skip a workout. Like you're only there so many days.
Yeah.
But I like the sentiment of it. I think there's an interesting way to
It's
implement it the right way.
it's for data collection. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of college strength and conditioning programs use like the bar speed
Yeah.
measurement
Yep.
because that's like a similar thing. If your speeds are down, you're not as ready. If you're moving same weight faster, you're progressing. Kind of like a similar thing. I know there's like a big debate on all this stuff on which is the right way to do it. And now you have all the wearables too, like the
Yeah.
Oura rings and that kind of
Whoop.
stuff that are
Yeah.
measuring the same thing. But we could have a whole nother episode on that. We got triceps now.
Tries. Okay. So you're up first, Max. Let's hear it.
All right. Um, I think best overall exercise. Hmm, This is tricky. I think we already covered chest, so I'm not going to go close grip bench, although I think I thought about it. But I think the best overall exercise is going to be any sort of overhead pressing. So like an overhead rope extension or like a French press with a dumbbell.
Yeah.
I think those are really great for if just tricep specific because you take your chest out of it when you make something overhead. Um, and it's really hard to cheat those. So, and you're getting that good stretch, like especially if you focus on your range of motion. So I think those are probably the best overall. My favorite to do is probably a close grip bench or uh, just a rope press down. I really
Yeah.
feel those, but those are a lot easier to ego lift. It's a lot more tension in the shortened position of the muscle where you're really strong. So I just don't think you're getting quite as much out of it as an overhead tricep movement.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think the funny thing too, like with arms, is like everyone wants to work their biceps. It's kind of like the sexy muscle, but like your arms are going to look so much bigger if you work your triceps. It's like 2/3 of your arm. So it's like spend your time on your triceps if you want big arms.
Yep.
But yeah, tricep, I think hear me out here. Best exercise, I think, is a dip. And my
Whoa.
reasoning for that, again, compound movement, you get some chest, you get some shoulders with it too. But it's predominantly your triceps, and you can actually load up a lot of weight on here. Like, I don't think there's another way to really load this much weight on your triceps as
Yep.
when you're dipping. And so I'd say a weighted dip, and you can really level that depending on where you're at, what your strength's at. Um,
Yep.
and then my favorite is probably overhead, like rope
Yep.
extensions. I think training the long head of your tricep feels good. And
Yeah.
I feel like I get a lot more out of those.
So, I mean, I would maybe, I'll be a little contrarian to you. I'll maybe throw dips in for chest. And they are
Okay.
one of the best. I think that it depends how you do them. If you stay more upright, it's a lot more tries. Maybe it's just the way I'm built. I feel dips a lot more in my
Just built
chest.
different.
Yeah, built different. I don't have small hands, so maybe it's something to do with that.
Dude, come
But
on. We're not, that's,
I don't know. Who
I'll
knows?
be measuring my hands. I have very average hands.
But I love dips. Like I think I there it's kind of like close grip bench, like, and this is like where you start splitting the hairs. Like I would like pure tricep base, but like if you had to pick like a movement to do like long term that you're gonna get most at, I mean dips are hard to beat. They're an amazing exercise.
Yeah. I think the ability to load it up too. And like you said,
Yeah.
chest, I think there's so much more shoulders in dips too than people realize. Like
It's just a
if you're,
huge pressing movement. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think,
Great. It's one of the best. How about I think that's one of the best overall pressing movements.
yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's forgotten a lot too because people are like, it's like a push up. Like you just do a bunch of reps, but it's like, no, start weighting it and actually
Yeah.
train it like you're
Well,
training
you can
your
weight,
bench.
can really weight dips. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. I think, you know what they say, Ryan?
What they say, man.
They say curls are for the girls, but tries are for the guys.
And
That's your point. Like,
that's why Max hits tries like 3 days a week, guys.
yep. It's all about the bros. Got to impress your bros.
Just
And
beach muscles.
triceps are, yeah. And they're so important for pressing strength. Like, if you want to move big weight, you got to have strong tries.
Dude,
So,
I'm so reminded of this all the time. Every time I bench, I fail at my triceps. I don't fail at my chest. It's like I just got to go do more tricep works to increase my bench.
need more tricep.
Yep.
Everyone needs more tricep. You can't have too much tricep. That's not possible. Um, all right, we're gonna skip like 'cause we'll be here all day. So we'll skip the little like forearms. Just train your forearms. Don't skip them. But we're gonna
Farmer's
skip our
carries.
favorite movement. Yeah,
Continue.
farmers carries, wrist curls. Um, let's go. We'll just split the legs into three.
Here, let's start overall legs and then split it. What do you think about that?
Okay, sounds good. I mean, I know what overall legs.
All
I
right,
think
we
it's
get
easy.
squat.
Yeah, squat
All
is
right.
the best and my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Now we'll split
yeah.
it.
Now we'll split it. And we'll go quads first and you're up.
Quads. Okay. That's interesting. I think I like a leg extension. I feel like part of this is you can really isolate it. And then also part of it is like, I didn't feel like I got to do this a lot because every athletic weight room is like, no machines. And
Yeah.
I get it. I get the sentiment. You got so much time, but like at the same time, if you're trying to develop some quads, I think it's good. Um, I also think probably the best is like, probably a sissy squat, but I think it's hard to do
Ooh,
it correctly. You got to kind of learn
yeah.
it. Um, and I think an honorable mention there is front squats. I think front squats are a lot of core and a lot more quads than people
Yep.
realize. So I'll go honorable mention there. I think probably the best is sissy squat with the caveat that there's a learning curve there.
Yep. I agree. And I'll go. So the best overall quad exercise is, let's just say, a sissy squat variation. Actually doing sissy squats correctly is really hard. You can do like a leg press sissy squat variation. Just bring your feet really close together, get that full range of motion. I think that's really good. You can do, I think any, and then I'll kind of piggyback on that. Any, you said front squats, but I think um, any exercise that, or any squat variation that is quad dominant, whether it's front squats or you just bring your feet a little closer together on your squat, you high bar squat, however you want to target your quads a little more in a squat, is going to be awesome. And then my favorite is leg extensions, and I do think it is one of the best ones.
Yeah.
And I do take issue with the aversion to leg extensions weight rooms. 'Cause not only are they amazing for your quads, but they're also crazy good for knee health.
Yeah.
There's a really strong correlation between the amount of leg extensions you do and your likelihood of ACL injury. Like
Dude,
very strong data on it.
100%. Your VMO and your hamstrings, like when those are strong, your knees are so much tighter. Like in college, I was so lucky to not actually need surgery or anything, but I had like, grade 2 tears in my knees a bunch of times where whenever I did a lot more hamstring and a lot more VMO stuff, it was like non-existent. And if you look at like that knees over toes guy, all he does is VMO,
Yeah.
hamstrings, like keep your knees tight, which is a huge part of 99% of sports. And so I'm with you. I do think that there's some, especially for high level athletes, when you have time and you got to like put in the extra work to make sure you're on the field, like you should 100% be doing some kind of VMO, like quad dominant exercise,
Yep.
like a leg extension.
Yeah, I'll also throw in for quads. Quads are probably my overall favorite muscle group to train. So we'll like I could talk about these all day, but like any like deep knee lunge, like a knee over toe lunge,
Yeah.
yeah, awesome. You're gonna get more growth out of any time you really lengthen that quad. So like a knee over toe lunge, a sissy squat, a quad dominant squat variation than you will out of a leg extension. But the leg extensions also just have so much positive thing, including just injury prevention, and it is really hard to train your rectus femoralis unless you're doing leg extensions. Like it's just not a muscle group that's easy to train.
You also like it's very safe, right? Like it's pretty hard to do very high rep squats and like kind of let your ego not when you technically
Yeah.
fail, like stop. Like leg extensions, you could do a lot of reps, a lot of drop sets, and it's very safe. When you fail, you
Yep.
like the weight goes down, you're fine.
I'll throw in a bonus tip here for leg extensions. And this is one of my favorite things to show people because it like blows their minds the first time you try it. Whatever machine you're on, put the back, like ideal would be no back. So like you're laying flat, and there are some leg extensions machines like that. But just put the seat as far back as you can, and then get it like kind of lean because it actually lengthens the quad a little bit for that leg extension,
Huh.
and you still get the same amount of squeeze at the top. But just try it. Everyone, I encourage you to try your leg extensions. Lean back as far as you can. You're gonna feel a lot worse, which or better depending on how you look at it.
So at mountain barbell, you just chop off the back of the seat for your leg extension?
Honestly, I've thought about it, but ours goes back pretty far, so like you could get pretty far back. But I like so there's like the last pinhole, which is like, and I just take it out and just shove the seat all the way back. So, but leg extensions, lean back as far as you can. But that's a great exercise.
It's a good tip. Okay, what about hammies? Obviously super important to make sure you're training the front and back. Make sure you're
Yep.
not, going to pull a hamstring because you're doing a lot of people are quad dominant. Make sure you're
Yep.
doing a lot of
Yep.
hamstring stuff.
Am I up? Am I up on this one?
I think you're up. Yeah.
Okay. Kind of lost track. So I think the best overall is any kind of hip hinge, like but particularly an RDL, dumbbell, or barbell. I don't care how you're doing it.
Yeah.
Um, that's you're really training that lengthen, that stretch position of the hamstring. You can load it up. You could definitely got to do these right. It's like really easy to kind of cheat these and turn them into a deadlift.
Yeah.
So you got to really make sure you're hinging, but like any hip hinge is phenomenal. Well, you could do it on like a glute hand developer. You can do good mornings, like however you want to do a hinge that trains your hamstrings, but any of those um, are awesome. But I'll say the RDL is overall kind of the king. And then my favorite hamstring exercise to do, I really I like a longer stride walking lunge.
Hmm.
I think are really awesome. Kind of like the pulling up there. Like if you think about like pulling yourself up rather than like a knee over toe lunge, you kind of pushing yourself up, pulling yourself up. I think those are a close second, and I just enjoy walking lunges, so I'll throw them in there.
Yeah.
Good hamstring.
I like that. Yeah, I think I'm with you. RDL's got to be probably the best hamstring, especially when you really strictly like you go slow, you do a real slow eccentric ham or RDL, your hamstrings
Yeah,
will be sore for a couple days. And
nothing
then
gets your hamstring sore like RDLs.
nothing worse, man. And then I think like an honorable mention to that is like doing Nordics. Do you have your
Oh, Nordics are
your
amazing.
heels
Yeah,
locked in? Going down. So I'd say that's an honorable mention. That's definitely an important one. And then probably my favorite, I think a good hamstring curl, whether you're on like a dolly or you got a hamstring curl machine, I feel like it's easy to load up
laying
that
or
and then
seated.
also honestly both, man. I liked both. I think laying you could probably get a little bit more, but you got to make sure you keep good form.
Your butt. Yeah, it's easier
Yeah.
to cheat a laying for sure, but I also probably
Yeah.
like the feel of a laying better.
Yeah. Yeah,
Those
I
seated
was actually
hamstring
doing
curls are really good. They are really good.
have you done the ones where your knees on it and you're facing the machine and you're curling up?
Yeah, like a standing kind of
Yeah, yeah, kind of half
really
standing.
good. Yeah, yeah, those are awesome too.
Yeah, I like those.
Yep. Any sort of hamstring curling is great. Kind of like the light extension of hamstring. So I think those are awesome too.
The leg extension of the
They
back of your
used to
legs.
in college they would make fun of me because of how much I like leg extensions. I was like the leg extension king. They're the
That's a
best.
great. That's great. I love it. It's a great one to be known for. Um,
What before we
glutes.
hit calves? Oh yeah, we got to do glutes and calves. But one thing I'll throw in with hamstrings and quads is your ab and adductor. Super important to train. You're gonna get a
Yeah,
ton of them in any squatting movement, leg pressing movement. But we'll just throw that in there. That those are really important to train. It
absolutely.
for athletic performance, wrestling is like uh adduction is crazy important. Especially for like riding, being on top, being able to create that pressure and drive. And it's just really strong, important for having strong legs, but it's also an underrated muscle for having big legs because they
Yeah,
kind of give you that like roundness to your leg.
yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's a good point. And it's like you said, I think there's a lot of things you can do with already with your compound movements, but there's definitely some extra stuff you can train in your accessory work too.
Yep.
Um,
All right, glutes. You go.
glute. Okay. Probably my favorite glute exercise, which is you're gonna, I mean, you kind of said it for hamstrings already, but I like lunges, man. If I haven't done lunges in a while,
Yeah.
it always fires my glutes a lot. I don't know if that's just a width thing, but I like that. Again, not super direct with glutes, but I feel like you build your glutes a lot with lunges, and then I think probably the best directly targeting glutes is a variation of a glute bridge, and I think again you can weight that a lot. Some of the reason I think some of these that I'd say are the best are uh, you can actually load that up a lot. You put a bar on there, you put a lot of weight on there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the lunge is a great call. And if I, for some reason, and I think there is science on this, but a step back lunge, like not a walking lunge, but a step back lunge, targets your glutes more. Um, So any sort of step back lunge. But I think, okay, any sort of leg pressing, get a ton of glutes too. Squatting, honestly, any of those compound leg movements, you're getting just a ton of glutes.
Yeah,
Um, so those are probably the best or my favorite to, I'll say those are my favorite to do. I think the best if you want to specifically target your glutes, this is for all the ladies out there. I think it's like this is like the buys for girl. Yeah, every girl wants a big
buys
butt. How
for
do you grow
girls.
your butt? Yeah, big big butt for girls. So I think glute bridges are really good. I do think slightly better because you can target different areas of the glute and you can train them a little bit more in the stretch position is any sort of kickback. That being
Okay,
said,
yeah,
those are actually really technical. You got to make sure you're doing them right. Learn them. There's like you can target the glute medius though, the glute max. You can like change your foot position. You can really get them across your body, so you're training it in a lengthened position for that growth. And if you look at all of the best like bikini competitors where all they're doing is trying to grow their glutes essentially, they just do an enormous amount of kickbacks from all
yeah,
different angles. So I think for pure just glute development, those are awesome. I also know like I've had friends make fun of me for the amount of kickbacks I do, but for like building my squat, doing
it's good.
kickbacks, it's huge. Yeah, because you can train just your glutes. Like that's
Yeah,
pretty hard to do because they're usually just a mover in the compound movements.
yeah,
But
no, absolutely.
any sort of uh like glute bridge is really good too. You just got to. I think those are also technically hard to do. A lot of people get a lot of lower back, kind of like sway in there.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Kickbacks are super good, but like you said, technical, and you got to be I don't know, you got to know what you're doing,
Yep.
and have the right machine to actually get some weight on it. Because I've definitely seen some people doing it. I'm like, hey man, you're not doing anything there. But
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And like you're saying, you see a lot of these physique competitors that are 100% doing a bunch of kickbacks.
Tons.
Um, I think one other thing that's to mention here too, which not for butt necessarily, but just legs in general. Um, sprinting, man. I haven't really thought about it too much, but
Huge.
recently, like just talking with our strength coach at Stanford too, something like I'm gonna butcher these numbers, so take these with a grain of salt, but it's like I don't know, 9 times the amount of weight pressure when you're sprinting, like force production you put on your muscles, and so
Yeah.
like You can't do that with a squat. Like you'd be the
Sprinters
strongest
are
man in the
jacked.
world by far.
You
You
ever
know? Yeah,
You've never
absolutely.
seen us, even like the lanky sprinters like Usain and there's a couple guys now like our little Noah Lyles, like they're lanky, but they're jacked. Like they got big
Yeah,
legs. So you gotta like, yeah, sprinting it's underrated for sure. And there's just so many ancillary health benefits to sprinting. So yeah, sprinting's good. Have you ever heard the stat that like 90, I'll also butcher this, but you'll get the idea. It's like 95% of people over the age of 35 never sprint again in their life.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Don't be one of those. Be the 5%. Go sprint.
Dude, that's like the book stat. I don't know if we talked about it on here, but it's like 80% of people after high school never read a book again. I'm like, that is
That's
an insane stat.
that's a crazy stat. I would never have thought that, but it also makes sense if you know what I mean. Like a little sad, but all right,
So
we'll
yeah,
finish up with
sprint and read your
calves.
books. Okay.
Maybe at the same time.
Yeah.
All right, calves. We'll finish up with calves. Um, are you up? I don't know.
You're up.
I don't know at this point. I'm up. Well, I hate calves. I'm just kidding. I just have a love hate relationship with calves. We'll
You got
not
small
say
calves?
it's because my quads are so big, Ryan. It's just
Yeah, you
relative.
got to
It's all relative, all right?
listen, everybody, there's a genetic component, and genetically, I just got big quads and little
Yeah.
calves.
Actually, I am making it a point here. While I'm can't train upper body, I'm just going to train my calves until I have big calf. That's what's happening here. So I think that for calves, the best exercise, especially for actually sprinting is probably up there. But for let's just talk about just like growth. Is any sort of straight leg calf exercise. So that's could be like a standing, like you're standing on a Smith machine, calf raises, standing calf raises, any calf press on a leg press is the same thing. It's just a straight leg calf exercise. Those target the, I always mess up the calf muscle head names. What's the big one? The soleus or the gastroc?
I think it's gastrocnemius, right?
I think so. Let's double check that. But
Google that.
when you do, yeah, I'm
Max is the
gastrocnemius.
one-armed Googler now.
Yeah, hard. Yes, the
Gastrocnemius.
gastrocnemius. Yes. Okay. Correct. So when you do straight leg, you're training the gastroc. When you do any bent leg calves, it's still really important and you should do it. You're training more your soleus, but that's kind of like the hidden calf muscle. So if you're going for big calves, like straight leg is where it's at. Your soleus actually a lot more explosion. Like you're going to use it more in sprinting and wrestling, but you're not going to have big calves if you
Okay.
train a lot of soleus. So, and then favorite to do, I hate training my calves. It's just not my favorite. I don't know. Probably a good calf press on the leg press. I feel those. I feel those well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on the. I think the best is like a standing weighted like calf raise, but making sure that you are like hopefully you got a machine or something on, but like make sure that you're elevated to where you can go down.
Get range of motion. Yeah,
No,
it's so important.
yeah, absolutely. And then yeah, dude, favorite is interesting. I'd probably like a seated calf raise the best, even though I know it's not the best for you.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can get a lot of reps in. You can load up some weight. I do think also like calves are such a muscle that you got to do so much. You got to do a lot to change it because you're on your feet all the time. Like it's really
Yeah.
hard to get change in your calves. But if you look at it as like you just got to do a whole lot of volume, I think it's a lot easier to grow that way.
That's why,
Um,
yeah, that's why they're hard to grow. And there's some genetic component, but there's genetic component to every muscle group. I think it's that the fact
yeah.
that they a lot of volume and a lot of people don't just like spend the time doing it.
It's usually you do like one or two sets of calves or like one or two exercises for calves once you're done with your leg day. Where if you treat it
Yep.
like a quad, you'd have huge calves, you know? And
Yeah.
like, I think relatively right for your genetics. But dude, I've never had such sore calves as one time in high school was learning to do a backflip, and we did like I don't know 80 backflips in a row. Dude, I couldn't walk for like 4 days. And then the second time we used to do a burpee tire climb before every like Thanksgiving or Christmas break. Shout out to Andrew Howe. Great exercise. It's like 5 minutes. You have like a big tractor tire and you
Yep.
jump up, jump down, do a burpee, jump up twice, do a burpee, jump up 3 times, do a burpee. So it's only one burpee in between, but you're climbing up, but you're just constantly jumping. And it's not like it's super
How
high, but it's,
many?
maybe
What do you
two
go
feet in
up
the air.
to?
As many as you can in 5 minutes. So it's, you got it, but you break up your rhythm because you're doing the burpee. It's real tough,
Yeah,
man.
that's
It's good.
awful.
But
That's
like
just torture.
23-ish was like a pretty good number. It was so funny. One time we finished and like coaches are like asking like, what's your number? And one of the guys was like 38. And we're like, this dude didn't count. Like everyone started laughing. Like there's no way you get 38.
Cheater.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it makes your calves sore for like 4 days. And it just made me realize
Yeah,
like
jumping makes your
we're
calves
not
sore.
used to jumping that. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yep. That'll probably be more soleus. You'll get gastroc too. But yeah. All right, that's our favorite. What's your overall favorite exercise? Full stop.
That's a good question. If I was like, I don't have time this week, I'm working out one day, I can do one exercise, I'm gonna hit back squats, man. I think you get so many like hormone productions. When you're working your legs, you hit all parts of your legs.
Yep.
I think a squat is my favorite, and I think it's biggest bang for your buck if you can only do one exercise. What about
Agreed.
you?
Yep. Back squat.
You can't agree. You got to.
No, because I'm mad at bench right now. So back squat.
I love it. All right, that's it. That's the best
It's a wrap.
muscles or best groups. We're done.
Well, yeah. We covered them all, but don't forget to train the small muscle groups either. That